So we just wanted to welcome you here this evening. It's really exciting because this is kind of our first all-in leaders right across the communities. There are a few people who have given their apologies. It seems like sickness is going around a little bit. But it's really exciting to gather everyone together, and we're really looking forward to this evening. Did you want to add anything else?
I just wanted to clarify. I was chatting with a couple of people. 2 years ago, we had a leaders gathering, but at that point, that was just across the morning community. So this is across the morning and evening communities as well, which is particularly special. It feels like there's a sense of unity and oneness together, which is just, it's really cool. So, and then quickly, just an outline of how we're going to roll this evening. We wanted to kick off by sharing some things that the Lord's been just placing on our heart to share tonight, and I guess talk a little bit about purpose, some of the big why, and then we are going to spend some time reflecting on some prophetic words that we've been given as a church over the last few months. So you'll see some of those up around the walls and we'll talk about those a bit later, but there's going to be some prayer and some reflection and some worship and some listening to what the Lord's saying. So it's not just us talking if you're worried that it's going to be an hour of Bonnie and Rob, because you get a lot of that.
You can sneak out the back door.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, if you need to.
So, so that's how we thought we'd roll tonight.
Yeah.
But
So
you're going to kick us off, aren't you?
I am. Yes.
Shall I sit down?
If you like.
Yeah, all right. Feels.
As always, a well-oiled machine, isn't it? Look, we wanted to kick off this evening a little bit about talking, I guess, about vision and about what's at our core. But before we just get into that, we wanted to say that as we've come into this kind of the new role, season as senior pastors, we felt very strongly the Lord asked us to put aside some of the things that we felt were core to us and who we are for a season. We felt like there were a few things that the Lord wanted to do over this last year that we needed to put our energies to and that we needed to kind of put our focus on. And so some of those things have been bringing the team together across both communities, sort of into one cohesive team. It's also been forming a leadership team that serves a common heart across the whole church. So those are things that we've been working in the background with teams and with our staff and with some of our other leaders, and just really felt over the last sort of year or so that we needed to invest in that and do that slowly, take people on a journey so that we could be one. It was kind of that sense of the Lord wanting us to be one. As well as that, we have also felt a sense of expanding the reach of the vineyard. So Phil and Kath have had their role as founding pastors, but a lot of what they've been doing is blessing the vineyard, the wider vineyard, right across the country. And they've also been partnering with Soul Survivor, helping up the Soul Survivor and RAW and various other organizations. And that's been part of us giving away, as well as you'll all be aware of the Gresham Brits, who we planted out in Toowoomba, sort of giving away our best as we did that. But our heart behind that was to see the vineyard, the wider vineyard, grow and extend across the country. And then, giving away some of our best in terms of board members, and Stephen Thompson going and joining the vineyard, the VCA board, the national board. And so that's kind of been this last sort of year and a half that we've really felt the Lord was leading and guiding us to. And so as we were reflecting on that, preparing for this evening, we felt the Lord stir up and say, it's kind of time to start sharing the things that we feel are at our core. And he started stirring up the passage that has very much been a core part of who Rob and I have been personally, but also what we feel like he's called us to as a church over many years. And it's kind of one of those ones that has been a slow brewing, maturing kind of process within us. And you'll all be familiar with the passage, but the context is that in Luke 4, Jesus basically comes to announce his ministry. And he goes into a synagogue and he pulls, well, he gets given actually, the Isaiah 61 scroll. And he stands there and he reads it and he says, "This is fulfilled in your hearing today." And so he announces what the kingdom looks like, what the kingdom is. And so I'm going to read the Isaiah 61 passage, verses 1 to 4. And this has always resonated deeply with us. "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of his splendor. They will rebuild the ancient ruins and restore the places long devastated. They will renew the ruined cities that have been devastated for generations." This is the picture of the kingdom that Jesus shares and says, this has been fulfilled. And we have always seen that as the picture of, for all of us, just in our lives generally as Christians, but particularly for us as we come together as a church.
We wanted to just spend a bit of time just thinking about this because it's a beautiful picture, vision, if you like, of the kingdom. We often talk about church's vision, and personally we get a little bit uncomfortable with that idea of this is the church's vision. But Jesus had something in his mind and heart when he stood up in Luke 4, and it was a colourful picture, like a vibrant picture. And we, as we read that, we go, oh, we see the detail and the colours and the emotion of it. As we read that passage, we see good news being given to the lost and the poor. We see healing for hearts, for minds, for bodies. We see freedom for those held captive by Satan or sin. We see really, as we respond to that, us praying with those who are mourning, who need comfort, speaking out for justice in the world, helping people discover who they are, where they belong. This is, in many ways, it's this picture of the kingdom that becomes the why for basically everything that we do here at Northridge. And you could find other pictures of the kingdom. This isn't the only picture, if you like, but it's such a fantastic, rich picture that we just find it so helpful to go, okay, when people talk about why do we do what we do it because we capture the same dream for the kingdom that Jesus had. And this is a great way of explaining it. When we talk about why we want to serve families or single mothers or victims of domestic violence when they come to the doors at Storehouse, this is why. Why we want to do that and more. This is why. Why we want to grow and develop healing and deliverance ministry here at Northridge and more. This is why. It's why we want to pray with and serve the different organizations that we partner with, whether it be IJM, whether it be RAW, Kairos, whatever it is, because they're resonating something here around liberty for captivity, standing up for people who cannot get out under the boot of the enemy. It's actually the reason why we have communities. I don't know if you've ever sat down, had a hard think about why don't we just kind of be friends and go off and do the stuff? Why do we get together and have this building, which is a real pain in the neck sometimes, looking after this place? Why do we spend all that time and energy on gathering together? Because the picture of the kingdom isn't just out there somewhere in this sort of ethereal, kind of theoretical, heavenly, on the clouds kind of thing. It's right here in this place right now. So actually why we get together, and this is a challenging thought, is because we're meant to be a preview of what that is. People are meant to come in and experience community, whether it be the morning or the evening community, and actually get a glimpse of this is what a kingdom community, like the preview of what that's supposed to look like. So even if we're not doing a great job, we know the Spirit is here, and we get glimpses of this. We get little touches, freedom, healing, good news coming through. And the reason that we meet in two communities is because actually God's expression of that kingdom is really diverse. And we want anyone and everyone to hear that good news and to experience that preview. So, what fits for one person in the morning community, how am I trying to say it? The morning community, the evening communities, they allow a whole range of different people to encounter this, whether they are young, old, male, female, early risers, night owls. I know some of our crew are like, I cannot get up at 9:30 in the morning to go to a Sunday service. There's just no way. But more than that, there's different flavors in those communities that actually express different parts of who God is. It's why, life groups. We really feel that God wants everyone to be equipped for this kingdom ministry. And there's nothing like a life group to equip us in the context of loving and caring for each other, because that's the context we're supposed to be training in. So all of the stuff that we're about, all the things that we're doing, and all of the dreams in many ways that we have, and a lot of it is just seeing more of all of those things, going deeper in those things. They resonate, they come from this place, from this core. I hope that's helpful. Bonnie's going to go on from here.
As we've been just starting to reflect back on this, it kind of starts to paint a picture of who we want to be as a church. And we're going to take some time. We're not doing it all tonight. We're just starting tonight with almost, like when an artist starts those really massive pictures on the wall, and they start in one corner and they begin to do that. We're telling you what that picture is going to look like, and then we're going to start to sketch it out over the next little while. But as we think about this, we want to be a people who invite others to encounter Jesus through healing ministry, prophetic prayer, Holy Spirit ministry. We want a people who grow and mature together, which is sometimes a bumpy ride, but also a fun ride, and be equipped together to follow Jesus in everything that we need. We want to be that preview community. I mean, so many times in the past, we've heard people walk into Northridge and go, there's just something here. There's just something, I can't quite, say what it is, but we know that's the Spirit in us and between us and among us as we gather. And we know that that's what shows the world who Jesus is. And we want to be a place where anyone can come and experience and know God, the God who loves them and cares deeply for them in this world. So we want to be a church that facilitates and empowers people to encounter Jesus and to be transformed and restored to Jesus. We want to hold on to Scripture and be anchored in it. And we want to create stepping stones so that anyone can come and find connection here.
Okay,
So,
I hope that's helpful. We're going to, shall I talk about what we're going to do next? Or did you want to add anything?
I just wonder if anyone's got any thoughts. We're talking a lot, I know. We like feed. There are some smiles, so that's encouraging. But I just wonder if anyone's got any thoughts or any reflections that they would like to share just before we move on. Thanks, Deb.
Thumbs up. It feels strange using a microphone, so again,
Yes, I know.
sorry about that. But I'm glad that Deb could be with us and others. It's nice to actually be able to be in here. We are going to make sure that we're hanging around for a while after this evening because we just really wanted to make an opportunity. If you've got any things, maybe it's got nothing to do with this, and you're just coming this evening and you're thinking, I really need to just have a chat with these guys about this or that, just grab us. We'd love to have a bit of a chat about that
Yep.
in here. But we'd also want to
Yes.
do this. Do you want me to explain it, or will you?
Sure.
Okay. So what we'd love to do now is to reflect on some prophetic words. So a little bit of context. As you know, when we went into June, we really felt like we need to take a moment and just ask the Lord, how do you want us to move forward? What is it that you're stirring up in us? And that's not so much a kind of sense of flip, we don't know which direction to go, although sometimes there's a bit of that too. But mostly it's, Lord, if you are wanting to speak into anything, encourage anything, stir anything up that maybe has been dormant or just speak new life into us, we want you. And it was interesting experience because I think for some people, as we went into that, people thought, okay, have you got the answer now? Like, it's been 2 weeks of praying. Has God spoken? And it was, for us, it was a test of faith to go, okay, we're going to put aside a month to pray and fast. Let's just see what he does with it. And there were a few folk who gave us some prophetic words in that month. And then a bunch that came a little bit later, came in August. And we just felt like it was time at this point to kind of collate some of those. They're not everything that people have shared, but it's stuff that really felt like, as we prayed and looked through it with the various team members as well, to go, yeah, that's really saying something. As leaders in the church, we want to invite you into that process as well, of considering and reading these prophetic words and asking the Lord, what are you saying to us in this? Is there something that's jumping out here? And is it stirring up something in me? So we're going to put a bit of quiet music on in the background. We're going to take a bit of time to walk around and